The Super Bowl, the pinnacle of American sports, where the two best teams in the league fight in a battle of champions to win the trophy and bring it home and fulfill their childhood dreams, while millions watch on from the stadium or at home or around the world, and it is truly a unifying event. Like, I know they've been worsening in quality over time, but wow. This is the first year where none of the ads felt special other than in how bad they were. I feel like I was just watching any old event. Like, this wasn't the Super Bowl. This was just a football game. And gonna be honest, the teams made it feel that way too. And in the end, my only impression of all of the ads and all of the companies was just celebrities or AI. Sometimes both. Well, today we are going to get into the tradition of the Super Bowl ad, some previous standouts, some trends, and then what this could mean for the future. While Super Bowl ads have been a staple for many fans, with some even saying that they preferred the ads to the game, when it started 60 Super Bowls ago, many fans hated the ads, but the advertisers were on the train from the first one. They want to get their ads in front of as many people as possible, and so sports, and especially football where there is a high viewership, is one of the best ways to do that. So especially putting your ad in the biggest game of the season was a no-brainer. But it truly didn't become a spectacle until the Apple ad in 1984. But that year, Apple revealed their Apple Macintosh computer, and after that, the Super Bowl ads became a different beast, with brands fighting to be the ad from that year. They wanted to be memorable, they wanted to get the headlines, they wanted people talking about them. And they used many different advertising and marketing strategies throughout the year, with some of the more memorable ones leaning towards heavy use of storytelling and draws to emotions. I feel like usually saddest Super Bowl ad is, or has been, pretty highly contested. But of course, people also used the opportunity to try different things and oftentimes leaned into this absurdity. It became the best chance with the biggest stage to launch new products or promote a new campaign, which technically did happen this year. But I'm gonna be honest, living inside a surveillance state is not as appealing to me as, say, the invention of personal computers. But as the Super Bowl and its ads became even bigger, it kind of snowballed, where simply being in the Super Bowl as an ad was enough to be talked about. People will write articles or make videos, which inherently led to more press. And especially with the rise of social media, a lot of companies started to tease or promote their campaign before it started in the Super Bowl, so people kind of had an idea of what was coming, or to kind of just like get them interested before the ad even started. Some people had fans vote on the ending of an ad that would then be played during the Super Bowl. And this year there were also like leading up, or like part ones, part twos to like the part 3 that was in the Super Bowl. I personally love the storytelling and the connectivity of all of that, because I know regular ad campaigns, they can't really do that because they don't know when you're gonna be watching, they don't know how much you're gonna see. But being able to do almost like lore for an ad, I really enjoy, even if I don't like the company behind it. Sorry, I'm trying not inherently give more promotion to some of these companies, and even companies I don't talk about. So just know, I'm not endorsing any of the companies I talk about. I'm more so talking about their brand and the ads. So like, good or bad, these brands are going to be talked about in some way, shape, or form just from being in a Super Bowl ad. But now, before we get into my critiques and the ads of the years past, let's talk about the best of this year, which to me, there were 3 standouts looking back that I was like, okay, that one's not bad. It's fine for an ad, right? Like, we have to understand, all ads are inherently bad, are inherently negative, because they are trying to sell you something. I get it's a way of how capitalism works, but just like, we have to understand, all ads are bad in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, the 3 that I liked were the Pringles ad with Sabrina Carpenter, which I know I'm being a hypocrite by saying that with the points I'll get into later, but I think the ad in general was funny. I think it definitely would have been in my top 3 if she wasn't in it, but it would have still been a good one if like another actress was doing it. Also, the Universal ad I thought was a bit endearing. There was a good balance between promoting the brand and the storytelling. I felt like it was, which we did not have enough of this year. Then also the NFL champion ad I thought was very cute. I had no idea what like brand or company was promoting, but it just being the NFL makes sense. But I thought that was very cute. Those were the 3 that I liked. Now let's get into some of the other trends I saw this year. I'm so sorry, that's the only positive segment of this video, because the trends were not So this has been a trend throughout the past few years, probably through all Super Bowl commercials. There's been this, but just the use of celebrities is rampant. And I'm not even saying, like, I know, once again, call me a hypocrite for liking the Sabrina Carpenter one because I like her. The thing for me about the use of celebrities is when the only premise of the ad is, hey, look, you know this person. Like the Sabrina Carpenter ad, that there was an idea, there was a premise behind that. This is just me justifying my own hypocrisy, I know, but I do think that there is a bit of a distinct, like there are some ads where if you don't know the person, if you don't know the celebrity, the ad's just like not gonna make sense to you. Now, obviously, because this is an NFL game, there are gonna be a lot of ads that use NFL players, which I think is more understandable than just like general celebrities, because it's like, at least if they're wearing a jersey, you kind of know, okay, that's an NFL player or whatever. Like you don't have to know the exact lore on them. And also, it makes sense. It's a football game. You want to use football players to promote your product. I think that that makes more sense as well. But I think ads like the State Farm ad and the Dunkin' ad really just kind of bank on the premise of, hey, you know this person. Oh my god, look at this face that you recognize associated with our brand. You like this person, you like our brand. Like, that form of advertising feels almost patronizing, where it's just like, sure, put the celebrity in your ad. Do it, you know, obviously they're great promotional tools, but like just having it where it's like the reveal is like, oh, and it's a celebrity as the teacher, and it feels bad. It doesn't make me like the ad. Which, once again, sometimes it can be a hit or miss, because sometimes you just like don't know that person, and it's not, oh, look, you know this face, this is a recognizable face, but it's like, hey, you know the lore of this person, right? Like gets into like their own personal life. Like especially I feel like the Dunkin' ad played into that, and like the nostalgia of it all, of who these actors are, and I just like, it just makes it a bit forgettable when your premise is celebrity, because if you don't know that celebrity, you're not gonna remember it. You can remember an ad that just like has a cool premise and has a celebrity, because you might remember the premise. You might not even know it's a celebrity. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, this is something I had written down when I started making this video, and then after looking back at the ads this year and at the ads of years past, I realized that this is a much bigger problem than I even realized. But I think the new thing this year was repeated ads. So originally my note was companies having more than one ad slot. I was like, that's absolutely ridiculous. There should be as many different companies as possible, because I want to see as much creativity as possible. I want to see as much, you know, diversity in the things I'm being shown, right? I don't want to just see the same company over and over again, even if it is a new ad. That's just not interesting. And I know that there were also a few ads this year. I know that there was one in particular that was completely just replayed. Well, one of the like Olympic ads were replayed. That's just because it's on NBC. Sorry, aside. Golden being used for the Olympics is so perfect. Oh my god, that, yes. But yeah, I know that there was one ad in particular, because the first time I was just like, I had like wireless headphones on and I was just like doing something else, and I heard it and I was like, that's preposterous. And then I heard it again later, and so like I remembered it. So I know that that one was played at least twice, but it was the terrible I'm taking a day off ad. Using the same ad twice is so ridiculous. Like I think State Farm and like Budweiser and like Lay's had multiple ads this year, but they were different ads. Looking back, I also know that there's a lot of companies who get repeat ads, either year after year, or within the same Super Bowl, they will get multiple ad slots for the game. I know, makes sense. And when they are different, you don't really realize it as much, because I didn't realize how many repeated brands there were this year. But I think my problem with it too comes from the fact where it just kind of starts to make me think about it a little bit, where it's like, we know these ad slots are expensive. We know they are. And so you're telling me that not only can you buy one ad slot, but you can buy 2 ad slots with the profit that you make from being an insurance company, or with the profit you make from doing people's taxes for free. And I know the Super Bowl is already capitalism central, especially with the ads. So like, I get it. I think my problem with it is more so the feeling of monopolization. Is that a word? I don't think so. It kind of made me this year pause and go, oh, wow, soon it's gonna be just 5 companies doing all the ads. And I mean, it probably already is 5 parent companies, but it's gonna be just 5 companies. It just kind of feels like a flex, but not in a good way. But this lack of originality brings me to the next trend that I saw this year, which was AI. Buckle up, folks. I have a lot to say. In fact, I think the only companies that were shown this year that I hadn't heard of before or seen anything about before were all AI companies. Like in the past, I feel like usually there's some food brand, some new technology brand or whatnot that I haven't heard of that makes an appearance. This year it was all AI. And on top of just having a bunch of AI companies, there were also just a bunch of companies using AI in their ads, which I feel like each of these ads I'm kind of about to gloss over and categorize into one thing could have their own analysis and breakdown of kind of what the ad is saying and how problematic it truly is when you look at the details of it and kind of like what it's saying and not what it's trying to sell the customer. This ad that I brought up earlier is saying, hey, AI is gonna do your work and it's a good thing. Like, don't worry about your job, just take the day off. Or, hey, AI companies are gonna start promoting to you, and that's why you should use our AI company that's not gonna promote to you. But it's also totally good to use AI as your therapist. And you also shouldn't think about how we're saying how ad placements are bad while being in an ad right now. Or my favorite, hey, AI is gonna kill you eventually. But don't think about that because it's really convenient. Literally, what are we doing? Oh my god. As you might have been able to tell, I have my very strong personal opinions about AI, but it's just so harrowing being in such an anti-AI space and then just like seeing it in this excess. I automatically type -AI at the end of every single one of my Google searches. And so it's a stark reminder that this is still considered the best new, biggest new thing for the time being. That's a threat. Now, everyone has their own interpretation of what the best Super Bowl ad is, if they have one at all, or kind of what the top ones are. So that's kind of not what I'm going to focus on. Instead, we're going to look back and break down the ads by category or just kind of like what was trending that year. And I have a very small selection of years just because I couldn't look at every single ad ever or every year ever. And even within these years, I did not like deeply analyze all of their ads. I'm sure there is a lot to say about how much it has changed over the years and how that reflects changes in society, even just like from a technological to a social or ethical standpoint. And by ethical, I mean like socially ethical, like what was considered okay or like the norm of that time. But looking at just a few years, starting with 2021, you have our typical assortment of brands you see now, from beer, snack, car companies. But then there were also a lot of ads for job sites or like startup sites, and I don't say startup, I mean like Squarespace, like in Fiverr and Indeed, like make your own company or find a better job type sites, as well as a lot of different ads for streaming services. In 2017, there were a lot of Fox ads, which makes sense because the Super Bowl that year was broadcast on Fox. And as you could see this year, there were a lot of NBC ads because it was broadcasted on NBC. There was also a Nintendo, a few Amazon Alexa ads, which just came out in 2014. So like it was 3 years after the release, still relatively new product. And then your traditional assortment of food, beer, and cars. In 2013, there were a lot of food companies, a lot of snack companies, and a lot of car companies, like more than your typical. I know now we're like, it's like, oh, 50% of the ads are probably like 90% of the ads are within those three categories. But that year it was like basically all those companies. You also saw the very traditional Super Bowl ad format, with a lot of them showing families growing up and kind of relying on this emotional, heavy storytelling elements. In 2010, that's like looking to the past to look to the future, because it was like there were 5 companies that had ads and they all had like 5 ads minimum. In 2002, there was a Blockbuster ad, a lot of job and tax companies like we see now, and also a lot of anti-smoking ads, which honestly, I think most of the difference throughout the years, I mean, obviously like in the earlier years, there's companies like Yahoo and Blockbuster and those ones that either don't exist anymore or have just kind of like slimmered down. And then also recently there's the ones that started in the past few years, so they just weren't around to advertise then. But I would love to specifically graph the types of companies throughout the years, because it feels like for most of them there would be a pretty even distribution, or at least like a fairly consistent distribution where like more than 50% of the ads are food and beer companies. Then there's like another pretty big chunk of car companies, then some technology companies, and then like your job sites and tax sites. And then of course, a small selection that rotates out throughout the years. Which, even being so, like the car companies have probably been pretty consistent through the years, especially with ones like the big names like Ford, like those are gonna be in there. But within beer and food, well, beer is actually pretty consistent as well, but within food there's a lot of wiggle room in that. Like I'm both including snack brands like different types of chips and pops, but also just like food companies like fast food chains. Would you see a more heavy emphasis, I feel, on the snacks? Like it's very much shifted, I feel like, to be more heavily focused on both the food companies and the food delivery apps, as opposed to direct snack. That's not a scientific thing, I don't have the numbers, but I feel like looking back, you do see a lot more like different types of chips promoting themselves, and now it's like the base restaurant type companies, and then like a few Lay's, a few drinks, a few, you know, like that. Once again, not a direct analysis, just kind of an observation. And there are many reasons for these ads to change too. As I mentioned, sometimes just companies don't exist, or sometimes they go out of business within this, you know, small sample of years I looked at. Also, the companies are just gonna have different budgets, different years. As they grow, they're going to have a bigger budget to be able to buy more ad slots or do it more consistently. Also, whether the company just thinks being in the Super Bowl is a smart marketing decision. As we talked about earlier, a lot of brands do want to be in there just because it's like big name, you're in the Super Bowl, right? There's that stamp on it. But if your audience isn't going to be watching the Super Bowl, or if you don't think, like, Indeed kind of really fluctuates in and out, so like if you don't think that it's a big time for job searching, they might not be in it. So there are a lot of different factors. But let's look between 2025 and 2026, specifically at the number of AI companies. Because like I said, within the pie of things, the big categories and the big names in those categories haven't changed that much, honestly, since 2021. It's more so that smaller slice of like startups, a new brand, or just kind of like the one-off shoot. They had enough money that year to get into the Super Bowl. But in 2025, there were only 2. And in 2026, there were at least 12 that I counted. I also saw someone say 15, but from what I saw, there were 12. And these were just the ones that I saw that played during the game, which is a big jump, and out of the like 60 ad slots is a very large percentage this year. But now thankfully, the world is not just marketing teams and company execs, and the people are allowed to have their own opinions, and oh boy, they do. Basically, in any thread on the internet that you are going to find talking about the Super Bowl ads, there's gonna be someone mentioning the AI. I saw a lot of threads dedicated specifically to calling out how bad it was and how annoying or uncomfortable it made them. Even people saying that like their family, who ain't not normally comment on AI, were like kind of weirded out by it. There was also a thread of users of one particular chatbot who were saying that they didn't like that another chatbot's ad was calling them out. Sorry, I had to bring them up just so I could laugh at them. And from a just like people posting on the internet standpoint, a lot of articles and news publications also had opinion pieces about how the AI was bad, and this video isn't a particularly hot take, is what I'm saying. But I feel like in general, just the way the ads came off this year was a little bit unsettling. I saw someone say how they kind of felt all patronizing, which I completely agree with. They either felt like they were just throwing celebrities in your face to get some type of brand recognition, or like they were just kind of focused on the vibe rather than actually trying to convince you that they have a good product. The only ones that are really like holding true are Budweiser and Lay's, who continued to do their emotional storytelling, which they're like the legacy companies in the Super Bowl, so I don't think that that's really surprising. But just like, there were so many ads where just like, ew, like what are you saying? Like the DoorDash ad saying how they would eat the fees. I was like, dude, you bought the fees home from the grocery store, chopped it up, cooked it, you made them, you did that on your own. That's why are you acting like we should praise you for getting rid of something that you created? And the Hims and Her ad saying how like, oh, rich people live longer because healthcare is so expensive. but if you buy from us, we're more affordable. Like, that was just like, yeah, it's just a little icky. And then, oh my god, the one ad where I was like, wow, I actually kind of like this. This is different. This is unique. Was the fucking Coinbase ad. I was like, during it, I was like, I have no idea who this is promoting, but cool. And then I was like, Coinbase? Ew, what are you doing? 1 star for being creative, I guess, but then I take it right back. And also kind of looking back at the past years, I realized how much more prevalent movie trailers are in the ads. Because in earlier years, they didn't really do that. But now I even saw people being like mad that there were no like big movies that announced their trailer during the Super Bowl. Which I guess it's a good time to do it, but also it's not my favorite. But on the other, a few other ads that I deeply filled me with rage. The ad saying, I don't even remember the company, but it was about like how AI can help predict who's going to be the next best football player. Hey, predict who in 10 years is gonna have the most catches. Who the fuck is falling for this? If someone is stupid enough to believe that and use that, guys, please. It's not smarter than humans. It can't predict the future. It only knows the information that you feed it. It doesn't know if someone's gonna have an injury. It can't predict the future. Genuinely, that made me, sorry. I need to calm down. That one really pissed me off. And then, of course, there's the betting ads, which are just their own thing. Oh, and the Mr. Beast, I think I need to be done. I think I'm getting too angry for my own good. Genuinely, every ad this year I could have an hour-long rant on, because they sucked. And they were so many, like sometimes it's just like an ad just like isn't good, doesn't resonate with you, whatever. These, it was like, oh, this makes me mad. Oh, okay. Wait, as you can see here, I have a lot of thoughts about this, and there are many things that I didn't even share. So I've decided to start a series over on my Substack, going over kind of my video overflow thoughts, which is where I touch on the topics, ideas, and my thoughts that I didn't explore or just like didn't have the time or didn't really fit anywhere in this video. Specifically, there was an article that I found on whether like Super Bowl ads even like help the companies and like raise sales at all for them. So if you're curious about that, make sure to go and read the article. It will be linked in the description. And while you're down there, if you want to leave a comment about your favorite or your least favorite ad of this year, or your thoughts and whether you think we are doomed and humanity doesn't exist anymore, I'd love to hear them. Let's connect a bit, okay? But make sure to like and subscribe as well. And thank you so much for watching. I know most of this was just like rambling, but I really did have fun kind of putting my thoughts together and researching a bit about the Super Bowl ads and the past. But I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. And of course, go Birds.